Okay, I'm recording already. I've not gotten my text that says Facebook is live yet. Has anybody else gotten it?
It says that our meeting is now streaming live on Facebook.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, then we are live. We are good to go.
Aye, aye, Captain.
All right, so here we go. Let's start with, oh, there, my phone's just in slow motion today, I guess. All right, let's start with roll call. Sorry, you would think by now I'd be prepared. All right. Councilman Brugger.
Here.
Councilman Wolf.
Here.
Councilman Curl.
Here.
Council President Shrimp.
Here.
Councilman Benindetti.
Here.
Councilman McNamara.
Here.
All right, everyone is here. If you guys want to look over the code enforcement officer's report, give you guys a couple minutes to look at that. If anybody has any questions, let me know. Other than that, we will then move to the variance. So I'll give you guys a second to go over that.
Oh, shoot. I did have a quick question, but I have to find it first. Hold on. So I'm going to see if I can find it quickly.
Is this a variance that we saw at planning and zoning and approved this one?
Yes, so
No,
Tony, it was the night that we actually had two in front of us. They were basically asking for the same thing, except for one of them was advertised a couple days later than the one that we looked at the other day. So we couldn't do both of them in the last meeting. So planning and zoning was just kind of ahead of the game.
This isn't the variance where the fence has already been put up?
No,
Okay.
so that's next. That's the next one.
Did you say we're looking at the variance or we're looking at the chief?
No, code enforcement officer's report. If you've got
Oh, the
questions
code
on that,
enforcement.
yes.
Oh, okay.
And then we'll move to the variance. Does
Doesn't
anybody
look
have-
like anything too crazy there.
We continue to cite for high grass. Again, when we get these, we basically give them all a warning. Most people are pretty quick to get things fixed. I know one of the ones that was highly discussed a couple weeks ago has been, they've done some pretty significant work to make it acceptable. The residents around there seem to be happy. So all's well that ends well there, and they've actually given some updates that they plan to maintain it. That's really the only thing I have from all of these.
Yeah, none of these look particularly crazy.
Rick Hochstetter.
Join the meeting.
All right, well, if you guys are all okay with it, then let's.
I didn't say that. I'm just not gonna, I'll look at it later.
Oh, you're good.
I'm good.
Tiffany, there's, oh.
Go ahead.
Rick Hostetter's waiting to, oh, okay. I just submitted Rick. Okay.
Diane, did you have
No,
something?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
All right, so let's move on to the variance. I think, Eric, maybe you're probably best suited to take a little bit of a lead on this one. I know that the homeowner is not able to attend per the yellow sticky note that was on there. I believe this is pretty straightforward. I believe planning and zoning gave the go-ahead for, they basically passed it up with no issues. I believe it's also part of the development text we're trying to change so people don't have to do this, but maybe I'm wrong, so I'm going to be quiet. And Eric, if you want to.
Thank you, Mayor. I had a little problem with my internet, so I'm sorry if I get a little unstable for a second. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
Thank you. So this follows the pattern of the variances that we've had up to this point in my development where they're on the corner. P&Z recommended that it be approved as submitted. And just, for the record, obviously the amendment to the development text also covers it, but, just in case, P&Z made sure they got the recommendation to you. So it's kind of a moot point, but obviously it's on the agenda and it's first. So they have recommended approval.
I think we talked about it at the work session. I don't think anyone had an objection at that time.
So I
Sounds
move
good
to
to me.
approve.
Second.
All right, let's start with roll call. So I have Councilman Curl,
Aye.
Councilman Benedetti,
Aye.
Councilman Bruger,
Aye.
Councilman Wolf,
Aye.
Councilman McNamara,
Aye.
Council President Trump.
Aye.
All right. All right, then we are good to go on that. Of course, I flip through here and then I lose my page. All right, so let's move on to village reports. Let's start with Chief Hochstetter.
Thank you, Vic.
Hang on, 1 second, Rick.
Oh, sorry.
I muted your one, so you should be able to talk so we can hear through the other. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. My report was submitted last week. Cal thought the meeting was on Labor Day, but anyway, you should have it. Happy to answer any questions about that. And the only other item of interest that I have to offer is that we sent the message off to Chief Happen and have not heard anything back. But frankly, I didn't expect to hear much of anything. The message was intended specifically to say, we appreciate the situation. We believe our appraisal is correct because we see some changes. We support it, and we'll just be happy to wait until things change. And according to a medic on Station 17, who I worked with at the Memorial Tournament, it's going to be several months before Chief Happ is appointed to what they call the full chief, basically given a 5-year term. And at that point, he may be able to take steps that we hope will benefit us, but he really can't move right now. Frankly, the faction in the Public Police Department that supported his predecessor, Kevin O'Connor, is still there. And so it's a very dynamic landscape, and Chief Happ is moving very carefully. But if Gene can confirm that he hasn't in fact heard anything from the safety office, then I'm inclined to say we are headed in a positive direction. And I just wanted to tell the chief we understood we were. And that's all we really need here.
Yeah, silence is deafening.
Fantastic.
All right, does anybody have any questions for Chief Hochstetter?
I don't know if
Are we on
this is
COVID
directed
basis?
just to the chief, but I mean, how long do we wait for Columbus to come back? We just keep going until they say something, or, I mean, it's the problem is, you know, trying to plan with the facilities, you know, when that's a big requirement that we may or may not need would be, you know, the areas for the EMS, you know, so I think we ought to try to get an answer from them.
Diane, would you like to take that one?
What's that?
Diane, would you like to take that one?
So, well, I certainly hear your point, Tony, and I think that to get to the bottom of your question, we have to decide what our desired outcome is. If our true desired outcome is to maintain a status quo, then I think that's the waiting game, right? We need to wait for the interim chief to make it to permanent chief, or, you know, chief for the next 5 years, and then it sounds like there is still a chance that we could maintain the status quo. If that's not our preference, then we should push for an answer, but we have to know that the number that we gave them may or may not be their number, right? They could come back with something considerably higher.
Which is already a number we don't like.
Right.
And historically has been the behavior that they show when negotiations are attempted.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't, so what you're saying is we're going to wait till the new chief has been there for a certain amount of time? I'm trying to
So-
understand.
So the new chief is in an interim chief position.
So he's
Right.
not
And-
even in potentially the new chief.
Right.
Well, right now what's going on is theoretically, at least according to what they've said, they are pursuing what's called a national search. Now, the message I sent to Chief Happ said if there in fact is a national search, I trust that they've already found the correct candidate because the search will simply show that's true. We don't know how long that will take, but the best guess is a couple of months, 2 to 3 months. That's typically how long these things take. And the fact that he was appointed as the acting chief, that's what he is right now, acting chief, he has the best chance, unless some remarkably superior candidate emerges, being appointed. And as I asked the medic from Station 17 about how long would it take, and he said a couple of months. So that's about how long we're going to be waiting. And to amplify upon Brian's point, not only is there a chance that things might actually improve in our situation, there's a fairly good chance because Chief Happ is a very good administrator and is of the school of thought that understands that when things are quiet, we all sit on our thumbs. But when things get crazy, which happens, they don't have enough help. They never have. And that's why they've always helped the outer departments. And so that's what every chief prior to O'Connor knew. And O'Connor was the outlier. And so going back to someone who basically understands that was expected and I believe is true.
All right, well, as long as I know what I'm waiting on, and that there's a reason why we're just not doing anything. And now, once they pick a chief, then we can move forward, I guess, is what I'm hearing.
That's correct.
Yeah.
I think being this far into the year, I mean, it is September at this point, and we know in part of our negotiations, he wasn't happy about us not paying for this year on top of what we've already paid. I couldn't imagine not being able to negotiate that right now and having to write a big check for the entire year on top of everything we've spent. So,
Well, there is a benefit to sitting back and.
right.
I mean,
Financial one.
I
Yeah.
get that. I understand that, but.
Oh, Tony, I hear exactly what you're saying too. I mean, I would hate. for
Well,
the
I mean,
public-
we've been really, this is what's been going on for, when did that bill for that was how many years ago they sent us a bill?
1992, that one?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, maybe we can go another 20 years.
Well,
Yeah, we
Tony,
hope to get back on their runs.
if we could lay that one to bed finally, that was a previous administration that was identifying costs and trying to somehow get them reimbursed. But that administration ended about 20 years ago, so that's 3 chiefs ago. Each chief brings in their own policies, and it wasn't just 1996. It was basically 1990 through 1996, so the bills just kept getting a bit bigger each time. We never paid any of them because they recognized that we provided them with a service that was worth far more than they were charging us.
Well, let's hope they continue to feel that way.
Hear, hear.
Really?
All right. So let's go on. Nobody else has any questions? Anybody?
It just seems to me, in terms of coming to a conclusion, to me, it makes absolutely no sense going in the future to create a new building or for EMS if all they're going to do is the volume of work they're doing now. That seems crazy to me. I don't know how you could, once we get to actually the cost of the building, once you get to that point, to build something for such a limited amount of service doesn't make any sense. It's financially makes no sense at all. So hopefully this will all, it can take a while because, we can do design work that says a what if, and we did that before. So I don't have a problem doing that because we could always use storage space. And so, but at some point, sometime next year, I don't think it has to happen right away because, when we did the one before, we said we could put the EMS to the very west. We could design it so that it could turn into storage space or some maintenance, whatever. So I think we had some alternatives and all that, as long as we're going into it with eyes wide open, knowing that, to build specifically for EMS if they're only going to do the amount of work that they're doing today.
Diane,
that makes financial sense.
Diane, I'm not in disagreement with anything you've said there either. I think January, if we can get ourselves to January, I think January would be a great time for us to really put everything, all of our effort into either getting back on Columbus Run cards or getting an actual contract. Because at that point, we have to figure out what we're going to do as far as the building goes. I understand we don't want to write an unnecessary check, but we also, you know, it would be difficult to justify the amount of runs for another year that we're doing without Columbus runs and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, we can look at it all different ways, but I'm not in disagreement with anything. But at this point, I'm just hopeful we can get to at least January and make a good faith effort to get back on the Columbus Run cards. I mean, ideally, knowing what they want to charge us now, that's like a big smack in the face. Trust me, I just want to be on Columbus Run cards, make a little bit extra, and move on with life. I think that would be ideal, you know, figuring out a way to make them work in the building because it would be less expensive. We've all seen that now. We know that they're really not interested in negotiating less than what we're paying. So it would be great to be able to figure out a way to make it work. But I think
why would anybody be able to less than what we're, you know, negotiating for less than they're being paid?
Right, exactly. So it would be ideal if we can at least get to January and figure that out at that point, and hopefully they don't try to back charge us. All right, so let's move on to Chief Delp.
Thank you, Mayor. Hopefully you received my citation offense reports. If anybody has any questions about those, I will answer them now. If not, the only other additional things I have, we do have National Night Out scheduled. We struggled for a bit with this because of COVID-19. I think we found a good workaround. In the past, we've done the cookouts. People have brought food. Obviously, we can't do that because we're not going to be handling food or having people bring food. So it looks like we're going to try to get some food trucks to come to that event, provide the food. It's going to be October 6th. That's a Tuesday from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. And it's going to be behind Hawthorne Elementary again, like last year. Hopefully the weather's better. The only other thing I have is that we did have a new addition to our department. Officer Fosnaw's wife delivered a baby boy yesterday. Mom and baby are doing fine.
So,
Yay.
Are cigars down at the center?
There are no cigars here, but that's the dad's job and he hasn't shown up yet. I'm sure he's trying to spend time with his wife and new baby.
Awesome. All right, does anybody have any questions for the chief? All right, I'll throw in, and I don't know if they want me to throw in any surprises, but Chief and Lee have been working really hard on doing a couple different things for October 6th for the National Night Out. We are planning on using a little bit of the CARES Act money to possibly get some face masks and a couple different things. So I don't want to give away too many surprises, but we are planning on doing a couple things to make it as safe as possible. Leah and Chief have been working on those. We have Broke Johnny's food truck that was actually requested by one of the officers. I won't name names. We're going to have the soft serve ice cream place again. We have the Irie Caribbean Grill, the one that's been here before, and I'm working on another one. So if anybody has any recommendations, let me know. I'd be more than happy to call. Especially, again, anybody that's planning on attending would love a recommendation to get a fourth truck. I don't want more than that, but I think four would be a great turnout. That way people can have some options. So thanks, Chief. Anybody have any questions for him?
Just a real quick one. As we've gotten more used to this contact, social distancing, reduced contact, have any of your officers been ill contacting people, or has everybody been staying safe and healthy?
We're practicing really good healthcare right now. Everybody takes their temperature at the beginning of their shift, and if they feel sick, they're encouraged to stay home, get tested through the state of Ohio, we get priority testing. So it's all working out so far so good. If Leah could tap wood for me.
That's excellent.
Yeah, it's we give the option to people to call in reports rather than have personal contact. I think in July, mid-July, we started going back into making the more traffic stops, for the minor violations rather than more drastic ones that we were kind of limited to there for a minute. And so far, we're doing well.
Everyone's remained safe. That's wonderful. Yeah, I was aware of the calling in reports. That's excellent. So that's wonderful to hear that you guys have adapted as well as we can. I did have a question for Chief Hofstetter that I believe I must not have been vocal enough. With regards to EMS in the area, have we had any COVID or any spikes of anything in particular popping up to be worried about, or is everything been about normal?
Well, I'd like to echo the Chief Delp's comments. We've been very careful, and we've learned a lot about a pandemic and how to protect our staff. And we also take temperatures of the staff incoming. And so we have not had any problems within the department to report. Also, because of HIPAA regulations, unless we were to transport somebody specifically, we would not know. We depend on health department information. And I have to say that the fact that Ohio has basically moved to the yellow group, I believe, is sort of one of those threshold ideas, because a few more cases and they'll run right back up into orange. We're not in the woods yet.
Yeah, I understand I'm a registered nurse myself. I understand the HIPAA aspect of it. I guess I should have rephrased. Do we have an increase or a spike or a cluster of shortness of breath or, found down, difficulty breathing, anything like that?
Not that we've seen.
Excellent. Thank you. I'm sorry for my miswording previously.
Sorry about the misanswer.
All right. So I'm going to move on to Mike Flickinger's report.
Diane
Diane, go for it. Sorry.
I just wanted to ask Chief Delp one thing and then Rick one thing. Chief, did you shoot that skunk across the street? Was that you out there shooting that skunk?
That was me, yes.
Okay. Is that, we noticed that we heard the pop, and so do you have a different gun that you use? I assume the skunk was assumed rabid, right?
No, it was injured. That skunk was hit by, I think there was a couple of them hit by cars.
Oh.
That one had dragged itself, I think, from Cleveland Avenue.
Wow.
And it was in the yard, its back legs. Every time I tried to stand up, it was just falling over, and it was a very, very sad situation. The homeowner requested that we put it down. So it was put down, and he disposed of the carcass for us.
Yeah, okay. I was just kind of surprised. That was a different kind of thing going on. Okay. And then Rick, I wanted to ask you, I saw the EMS guys from Columbus when they were going to handle an event, and they had on Darth Vader masks. Do our EMS people have those as well?
No, we don't.
Pardon me?
No, we don't. We use N95 masks, which are the industry standard.
Okay, and since we have this CARES money, is this something that you think, if we're going to do a transport or we're really going to get close to somebody, that we should have?
No, what we have for what you're talking about is our COVID-19 protocols, and what we do in the case where we cannot put a mask on the patient because we have to use some breathing treatment on them. They can't wear a mask. And in those cases, we have what are called N100 masks. They literally limit 100% of the airborne particles well, theoretically, obviously, there's some problems with application, but unfortunately here, I have to say that we rely on science, not Star Wars.
Right, right. I had not seen anything quite that covered, okay. So I was just curious about that.
Right now, what you may have seen is something called an SCBA, a self-contained breathing apparatus. They may have had something like that, which is quite an isolation, but it's the devil and a half to try and decontaminate. So I prefer disposable masks.
Yeah, the hospital I work at uses something called PAPR as well, and those are a heck of a time to come by and to sanitize.
Okay. Well, that is a good point that, if you've got something that's reusable, you have to be able to sanitize it. Okay. Very
Or
good.
ambu bags.
Tiffany, I'm done.
All right, let's go on to the engineer, and I'm gonna apologize just to start. Okay, task order number 13, which is 2020 Sanitary Sewer Improvement Project. And no, I'm not Mike Flickinger, but I do have a lovely report from him. The majority of Insight's materials submittals have been reviewed and approved. We expect no more than a few additional submittals. The pre-construction CCTV. Insight is complete with their pre-construction CCTV. During their CCTV, it was noted that a couple items had worsened since Flowline CCTV work. So they've prepared a request for proposal, an RFP, from Insight for the additional work. We expect to have that price no later than midweek this week. The lining work, Insight is nearly complete with all of the pipe segments that required lining. And for the record, not every pipe was relined. The only ones that were relined were the ones that needed to be relined. I actually had a couple residents ask about that. One pipe segment liner did not cure properly. This was actually over on down Maplewood towards the basketball court. So that liner had been removed and the segment will be relined. The remaining work, Insight is coordinating the final schedule with the subcontractor for point repairs. That work is tentatively a couple weeks out. Insight will finish the remaining lining work after the point repairs are complete. And additional work, in addition to the items noted above in the CCTV section, there were 2 manholes that are buried under pavement, which need to be adjusted to grade. We've included that work in the RFP to get pricing. Westerville City Schools, the stormwater.
Tiffany.
Go ahead.
Was that whole report on sanitary?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep, we'll get to storm sewer in a few.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, this is the final section of the sanitary sewer improvement project.
Okay.
Is what that was.
All right.
So, and yes, I'll get to the storm sewer. I didn't even review that one yet. So it's all going to be a surprise for all of us. So Westerville City School District, the stormwater management report, they have reviewed the school district stormwater management report and the district has addressed all review comments. The site improvement plans, they have reviewed the school district site improvement plan. There are still 4 open review comments that need addressed, and the school district is working on responding to those comments, and they will be revisiting the drawings for review. They are coordinating with Eric regarding any inspection that the village will require from Jacobs for items that the building inspector and health department inspector will not inspect. Once our scope of service is settled, we will provide a scope and fee for the village to review and approve. Task order number 15 is the 2020 storm sewer improvement project. The majority of Insight's material submittals have been reviewed and approved, and they expect no more than a few additional submittals, so very similar to the sanitary. Pre-construction CCTV. Insight is performing the pre-construction CCTV work to confirm the current conditions of the sewer, and they hope to finish that this week. Lining work is tentatively scheduled to begin on September 21st. And pre-construction CCTV completed to date indicates some potential additional work to correct additional deficiencies. They are currently working to coordinate with Insight to determine if additional work will be required, and if so, they will do an RFP for pricing. The 2020 wading pool replacement. I was a little off on my schedule that I put in the newsletter, so I want to say this. The wading pool replacement project is scheduled to advertise, and that is correct. It was put out to bid. And the bids are actually due on October 9th at noon. I said they would be in by the end of September, so I was off by about 9 days. So everything is out, the bids are out. Now we're just waiting to see what we get. So that is moving right along. And then we have the 2021, I know, here we go, Storm Sewer Improvement Project. This is, I believe, the East Shore Court area. So we prepared a scope of work for surveying services. Yes, it is. Okay. They prepared a scope of work for the surveying services for the area not included in the original project area. The price and legislation to procure those services is currently before council. So you guys will have that in front of you again tonight. Upon receipt of the survey, they will update the storm sewer model to determine the proper size for the sewer from Park Lane to the North Lake. After determining the pipe size, they will meet with the village to discuss the results and confirm the scope of work before proceeding. As I already explained to you guys, I expect that to be mid to late October before we would be able to do that. And again, that just determines how fast we decide to pass the surveying legislation that's in front of you guys. So the sooner we pass that, the sooner we can get that, the sooner Mike can get us all of the updated data. So that's in front of you guys. That is Mike's report. If anybody has any questions for me, I would be more than happy to answer them. I will just say, instead of saying it in my report later, I have had the least amount of complaints about the smell for the lining of the sewers in this section than I have. I have had 2 phone calls about it, but other than that, I have not had drastic freaking out like I did the last time. So the message must have gotten across over the last couple times that we've done this. So everything seems to be going good. I've not had very many problems or concerns. Anybody?
I just
Sounds
wanted
good.
to say that they are doing the, I have the storm sewers by me and the West Bridge Street Connect.
Yes.
And, so they've been, it looks like they're doing a really good job there. And the sewer line out that goes out to the creek and dumps, that's one I was concerned about because it was all rusted out at the bottom. And they assured me they're lining that. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that looks like. So I'm excited to see where we're getting that done. It's great.
Yes.
You heard about the line beside your house? They're
Yeah.
relining that?
Yes.
Oh.
Not the big old add-on, the sewer one that goes underneath the ground all the way.
Not the one at the, like there's a grate.
Not that one. Yeah, not that
no.
one.
Okay.
Yeah, that's just a kind of that's a Hail Mary one for when it used to wash out all the time.
So that really doesn't get used much, that big old,
No, the only time it got used was during the big flood.
really
And
bad.
then it didn't work anyway because all the debris lodged at the face of the wrought iron and plugged it up. So
Okay, so there's.
ended up flooding my basement anyway. So, but yeah, that was just the Hail Mary one. The real one is.
So there's another one underneath the ground.
Yes, that's the one I'm talking about. Yeah.
All right.
That's
That's
it for
great.
me.
Yeah, I'm also excited to get some of these done. I think I'm just going to say that I think that it's going to fix a lot of our problems. I don't think it's going to fix all of our problems, but it is exciting to actually see some progress on the sewers. And I've had a lot of people mention that, again, they're excited that we're moving forward. So, all right, Leah, fiscal officer.
Yes. I don't have too much to report. We did receive a second installment at the beginning of the month of CARES Act funds, and the amount of $33,293. That's in addition to the $66,000 that we got earlier. So we got a total of $99,881 in CARES Act funds. And that's all I have.
And the latest fiscal report is out, right, for the month of August?
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Kim was able to close out the month of August. She did have a little a bit of trouble again with the computer, but she was able to do that. So she was able to close the month of August.
And Diane, I also, I saw Kim responded with some dates for the next meeting. So if everybody just wants to kind of do that, we can get that posted as soon as possible too.
Yeah, maybe at the end of the meeting, we can just, she suggested 13, 19, or 20. She would have the budget information ready to exercise. So we have one, David and in particular, David and Mark. So we can hopefully settle on that. And,
Perfect.
yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. Okay. Anybody else have any questions right now? Awesome. Jean, legal counsel.
And just following up on a couple of the items from work session on Saturday, and even had some time yesterday to look into Tony's building code issue, and should have some information on that. I got to tell you, there ain't much out there on that issue, believe it or not, even from the Board of Building Standards, but I'll get to you what exists. So, but no, other than that, report on a bunch in work sessions, so don't have additional stuff for your Monday meeting, unless you got any questions.
So you're still looking into that?
Yes. Yeah, I had a little time yesterday. Thought I'd scratch the surface and see what's out there, Tony. And I could scratch some more, but I'll get you what exists about.
Well, my question is pretty simple, Gene.
Yeah,
Why?
it is, and the answer is actually pretty simple. I can get you anything that exists on how to interpret minor repair. But it was, it's a well-stated question. I looked, any authority under that section of the residential building code, and there just isn't much authority. There's not, in other words, there's not been much interpretation.
Well, I know if you're looking for case law, I appreciate, or whatever it is you're looking for. I'm really just looking for what, and I can't get the code enforcement officer to answer the question. It's a simple paragraph. And I just want to know what you think, most importantly.
Well, yeah, and I'll throw in my personal look. The problem is the way these things are worded, they probably make a lot more sense to builders or contractors, or our building inspectors. I can throw in my non-construction, construction layman interpretation. But they may have some, expertise that I don't have. So you as a contractor probably have more expertise in interpreting this than I do, honestly. So.
Well, I don't want to be rude, but it's reading a paragraph in English,
Yeah.
I do understand that, the code, the difficulty with this code is it doesn't describe what a minor repair is.
Right.
What it does is it describes what a minor repair isn't. And that's where the confusion comes from. But I'll wait to see what kind of,
You bet.
like I said, no one is in, I seem to be the only one to voice an opinion about what that means, and I'm confused as to why it wouldn't apply to roofs, siding, windows, and doors.
Yeah,
and I can get you why that doesn't apply.
Yeah, and I'll get you what I've got. I think the distinction is that all those things that you mentioned, other than siding, I don't know that we've got any building code, provisions with regard to siding at all. All the other things, you can either repair them or perform a minor repair to them.
Again, and that paragraph describes what a minor repair isn't.
Right.
And going around in circles.
No, it repairs, believe it or not, require permits, inspection, plans. Minor repairs don't. So for some reason they put in the code an exception for minor repairs, and then they gave you a little bit of guidance as to what that is. I'll even get what the Board of Building Standards threw out there.
I've talked to the Board of Building Standards.
I know, and it's not, it's not.
What the Board of Building Standards tells me is
But yeah, it's not legalese, it's more constructionese as to what a minor repair.
So Gene, are you saying that based on, if you conclude that it's vague on purpose, subject to interpretation, does that mean that Minerva Park can define it more clearly in their code if they want to? Or are we dependent on this, on the, however the particular state entity wants to define it?
Yeah, that's a good question. If we'd add sort of our own guidance or interpretation, would, our hired building CBO look at, say that's a matter for my judgment, or is that a matter that councils can further define for their own village? That approach, we may want to discuss with our contract folks who are doing it for us, that if we gave them a little more detail on what we think a minor repair is, can they live with it?
Right.
It might help out.
Okay.
I certainly want the residents to know what to approach us about getting a permit for and not. It isn't helpful to anybody that it's this gray.
Right.
I agree with Tony. It's just, it's not black and white in the code at all. But let's start. I can get you. Go ahead.
Like I said before, is that this language has existed in this form pretty much so. It's changed a little bit for 30 years at least. And the understanding, that you didn't have to get a building permit unless you got into the plumbing, electrical, that's been the understanding for years and years. So this is where my confusion comes from, is the language hasn't changed. It's just somebody decided to interpret it differently.
Yeah, no, I think they got this language from the commercial code, which has existed for years, like you say, and then it translated over to the residential code. But then they talk about it in terms of if you're making any removal or change of any required means of egress. With, it's a door or window could be a means of egress, and you could be changing something.
Egress, if you look at the definition, it is the place, it is the opening. It's not the thing in the door, or, because an egress could be a window, down in a basement.
Yeah. Right, exactly. It could be the basement window, and again,
that's very gray.
Yeah. So I'll get you what I can, and then maybe we can discuss this with our building department, so to say, to see, hey, we want to declare these things to be minor repairs. Can you live with it? Will you implement it if we do that? Or will they say, hey, I got to interpret the code myself? So, but I'll get you what I got, and then we can push it, get it in the position where we can discuss it with the building folks.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Does anybody else have any questions for Gene? All right. Eric, you're next. I don't know if you want to chime into anything that Gene just said per our conversation, or if we just want to sit tight until we get more clarification from them in the next meeting. And I'm going to leave that up to you, because I think we have some answers to exactly what was said, but we don't really have answers, if that makes sense.
No. So what that leads into, as Gene mentioned, is that we have to have the discussion. And as I mentioned at the work session, we want to be able to present the council with options. This segues with what Gene's saying. Hey, here's what we see. Here's the options we want to present. How does the building department, what authority does the building department have in interpretation? And that's, again, going back to what I said at the work session, Gene has to have a conversation with their legal counsel and see what his interpretation is as far as the authority goes. And then we can all present, again, options back to the council, whatever those may be. And you folks can make a decision as to how we want to proceed forward.
And just so everybody's aware, and I'll say it now, Eric, myself, Franklin County, we all did meet together just not too long ago, about a week ago, 10 days ago, whatever. And it was about this exact very topic. And we will be doing it again here shortly, with hopefully to be able to, again, to bring it back to council to give you guys some ideas.
Thank you.
But what else do you got?
Okay. A couple other things. Tonight, I've been kind of jumping back and forth trying to catch it, but the Westerville School Board is supposed to announce who their GC is going to be for their new school. So It's supposed to be at the board. I don't think they've gotten to it yet. They were talking a lot about the day in the life of the elementary student. So that's what I've seen so far last hour. But their meeting started at 6. So I assume sometime in the next hour, they'll have that announcement if, depending on how much longer the meeting is. And I'll email it out to everyone once I officially find out. All right. And that kind of segues into the fee schedule, which is in front of you now. I did some review earlier today and I got into email form before the meeting. And as you can see in the email, they kind of follow a certain formula. And sometimes some of the municipalities, they kind of combine building zoning fees all in the same one. There are additional fees I didn't list there, such as, building departments have reviews, obviously not applicable here, and they charge on a per hour basis. Even some of the zoning departments have a preliminary review on a per hour basis. We don't do that. Essentially for those commercial building line adjustments, really, it's a little arbitrary from what I put it. I wanted to make sure it was, kind of fair, but at the same time, watching the village's interest. If you want to make any adjustments to that formula, especially as we get over the 10,000 foot range, by all means, you can change it to whatever you like. But just to give you some idea, it is kind of all over the place, but it does add up a lot as far as, different municipalities go.
I'm trying to figure out what fee we're talking about.
So if you go to if you go to the fee schedule, and here, let me see if I can share my screen and find what I'm looking for.
I saw the email you sent out with the other people.
Yes. So here, let me find my thing here and I will find it.
Because we've already done, I don't anticipate there being any more zoning approvals required. We already approved the plan.
Well, no. So you approve the review at P&Z. Now they submit for their permits, which include a zoning certification from us. So there's actually more to it. It's actually the full building set, right? And part of that is the zoning side of things to make sure that they follow through on some things, landscaping, as an example, the exterior, that all has to be, you didn't officially approve the permit. The permit is what's being submitted now. Their GC, who they're going to select tonight, is then going to submit everything in plan form. Obviously, the building department, the commercial building department, which is through Blendon Township, does that end of it for the building review. We still in-house review the zoning side of things to make sure they follow through on, the site. And can be,
all right.
all of that stuff. Just like a house. Just like a house.
I'm trying to understand the difference between the plan that we already approved and the plan that's common. What's the difference?
So, much like with the subdivision, we'll use that as the real world example. They came through with the zoning approval through P&Z and then council, okay? And in this case, being a planned district, they went through P&Z for that parcel. P&Z approved what was submitted at that time. Now we're to the actual construction phase, okay? So in the construction phase, just like with a house when it comes in, all right, they submit a permit for each, MI submits a permit for each individual structure on each lot. And that goes back to following, from a zoning review, we okay them to get their water and sewer taps. They pay a fee when they come in. We have to make sure that all the plans, meet the criteria approved by planning and zoning and council in that case, which includes the aesthetics of the house, site plan, landscaping, everything goes along with that. And in the same sense, the school district submits for, in this case, it's just one very large building with some accessory structures and, playground and stuff like that. But it all has to meet what was approved at P&Z from a conceptual standpoint. They have to meet that plan. If they don't, if there's any major modifications to it, then they have to come back for reapproval. And that's why we do a building permit and zoning review. They have to get their certifications and all those things from us in order to proceed forward and to get their final occupancy through that process to operate. So that's what we do at this stage. So go ahead. Anything else?
Well, I don't. I'm still trying. So there's going to be a different plan.
No.
All right.
No, there's
We'll
a
talk about it another
plan
time.
in a construction set, right? That includes the things that apply to the zoning. Okay. So
I thought that's what we did the last time.
No, that's to proceed forward. That's their zoning approval process through P&Z. Gene, do you have any better way to explain it? Because I'm lost a little bit here.
I'm trying to figure out what the difference is. When they came before, we approved their plan.
They still, yes. And they still have to go through the formal process of making sure that when they construct something, that then the building department reviews it, and we from a zoning authority also review it to make sure they do what they said they were going to do.
Yeah,
It's
zoning
it's
will
an inspection.
continue.
These are
Part of it.
inspections.
The zoning will continue to be in the process even through the construction phase. And, has several responsibilities under our code. Planning and zoning itself, probably is going to look at the conceptual and then the final development plan, things like that. But zoning staff will continue to have other responsibilities. Is there more coming back to
No, not this time.
zoning itself? Yeah, I didn't think so.
No,
So,
the code, the plan code for this particular parcel, because it was in that overall Gulf
Yeah.
development, the
Right.
planned residential district, was fairly simplified from a process standpoint. It really was,
Yep.
which, was a one meeting item. And
Yep.
through that
That's
process,
right.
we got approval.
right, and they approved what was the final development plan. Zoning
Essentially,
staff
yes.
continue
For
to
that
have
parcel.
responsibilities even during the construction phase under our code.
Correct. That includes the engineer making sure they do their taps properly and all the other inspections that go along with it. Same thing we do for each individual house. Otherwise, people could just do willy-nilly what they wanted after they got P&Z approval. Nobody would be watching the hen house, so to speak.
And largely to make sure it's consistent with the approved final development plan from planning and zoning.
That's what the building inspector's supposed to do.
He does not care about zoning stuff.
Wait a minute. From the building code standpoint, that's what he's supposed to do, but he doesn't look at the zoning code issues.
He doesn't make sure the aesthetics are met. He doesn't make sure any of the things that would be important to the village as a whole.
What
Landscape.
codes do we have? What zone? Okay, I guess this is the problem, is what zoning codes are we making? We don't have any zoning codes when it comes to that commercial development.
We've got an approved plan.
I know we've got an approved plan. I
Well,
understand.
that plan has to be followed as it
Then
was.
we look at more detailed plans as they
We'll
come
talk
in.
about this some other time here.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so moving on from that. So the fee schedule there would apply from our commercial review numbers from the zoning review standpoint. It has been adjusted with the anticipation that we're going to have several larger buildings to review over the next 5 years, and therefore has been updated. Again, if council members have, any other comments on that, if they want to change that formula, if they want to change those fees, if they don't want to change them, whatever you like to do, I put it in front of you to simply reflect that, we have the opportunity to bring in an appropriate fee amount, as it's going to be staff time to review this and inspect it, and it's going to be a longer process. So that's what's before you tonight. And we appreciate your support and approval. I can answer any other questions.
Anybody have any questions? Anybody want to review it really fast?
Yeah, it's obviously up for.
I don't think there was anything put up on the screen, but so I can't do a comparison right now. I'd have to find the original fees. I mean, it would be nice if there was a table, a list, and here's everything, and here's what other people have. But just seeing what other people have doesn't help me much this evening.
It's okay.
I don't have, I can put the pieces together, but I can't do it right now in my head, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. What the whole purpose was to show you that everybody's doing something different, right?
Right,
So
I got it.
it's up to you. There's really no stability in regards to how they do the zoning and building fees in this regard. Every municipality has done something different. They're kind of close sometimes, but it's going to be up to the flavor and case by case basis. And you have a unique situation, just as Westerville has a unique situation. So
Isn't Blendon Township the one that's going to be the building inspector on this?
they are going to be the building inspector. They've got their staff for that. They're
And
contractual.
they're the ones that get paid the building permit fees.
They have their own building permit fees, just like Franklin County does for the houses. That's
Well, I
correct.
mean, you've been describing this as it's really just zoning. This isn't anything
This
to
is
do
true.
with-
This is just in this particular case, well, our fees are zoning fees strictly. Right. When I say
Well,
building zoning, it's because in a lot of cases we've got dual departments. In Westerville's case, they're all combined, and so other municipalities just do it that way because all their time is spent on it, and it's all in house. So
I'm just trying
some
to clear up any
municipalities separate.
confusion, is that this is only about zoning fees
Correct for us.
for us, right?
These are your fees for you if you want to collect them.
I feel like we're really pretty close to in line with Westerville.
Makes sense geographically too.
I mean, from looking at this chart, maybe I'm crazy and not reading this right, but I really feel like we're pretty close to what Westerville is showing.
When you say there's already existing fees.
Well, the fee schedule is in front of you guys. Again, it's not a crazy difference because some people do charge that, but we have 1,500 plus 500 per 3,000, and Westerville's 1,150 plus $150 per 1,000. I mean, I feel like we're at least.
I think like Diane alluded to, we'll have an opportunity to take a look at this stuff.
Or do you? When is the legislation on this one? Fee schedule? Okay, second reading.
Yeah, we prefer, if we could, since they're going to announce the GC tonight, and they're going to want to pay their fees here soon, I'd prefer to get it on the books. I think we wrote it that way.
So my point is it is pretty in line, in my opinion. And Eric, maybe you could look at it and make sure I'm not crazy, but it looks to me as if we're pretty in line with Westerville. Very close.
In this example, yes. So, and they have other fees, associated with, some of these guys do per inspection. We don't get crazy. We're just trying to do a flat rate with a small formula. That's it.
Right. And technically ours is a little above Westerville. So, I mean, I guess we would have a little covered in there. So it's very close. 450 per 1,000 square feet, and we're 500 per 3,000 square feet. 450 per 3,000, and we're 500 per 3,000.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, we're pretty close. But yes, I knew that was coming. That's why I wanted to make sure everybody's on the same page when we actually get to legislation, because that is in legislation. I also did want to remind everybody before we go any further with this, I do have all intentions of bringing the fee schedule right back to you guys after we kind of do a little bit of reviewing with planning and zoning and some of the other things, because one of the things that we do not want to muddy the water. We want to get this done. But we do want to talk about the solicitor permit and a couple other things that are on here. We would like to get some of this stuff updated. So that's just another topic that I want to remind you. Don't freak out when you see this again in a couple weeks.
I've been talking about the
I know you have.
schedule.
Yeah.
So I'm ready to start talking whenever you guys are.
Well, I think it's something we need to, again, I know that we want to talk about it. I don't know if we need to start it. Some of it's planning and zoning stuff. So maybe we can kind of go.
Well, it's like everything that, you can go to planning and zoning, but the council has to have an understanding and make it the final decision. And
Exactly.
I know people don't like hearing me tell you what to do, but it'd be nice if members of council would take a look at the fee schedule.
Yeah, there's
Our
quite a few
existing
changes.
fee schedule, which, is on the website. If you got trouble finding it, take a look at it and
In
maybe
your
we
packet.
can start talking about it.
It's actually in your packet because we're getting ready to pass it today again, but we still need to modify a few things in it. But we don't want to muddy the water for it because we need this for Westerville City Schools today.
Well, what was the actual this comparison that you did, that doesn't sound like that was I'm trying to remember, you were concerned about an actual number. I don't think you mentioned that number though in your comparison today. Wasn't there something specific that we were concerned about, whether it was too high or what percent it would be?
That's on there lower. There's several points of change. One reflects the actual cost for the engineer's time so that we can get reimbursed for the engineer's actual cost. The other item had to do with water and sewer costs. And so much like
that was it. Okay.
Yes. And that's on, I think, on the last page there.
Did that change? I mean, are we?
No, that still gives a range, a minimal of 50% of Columbus's water and sewer tap fees, because they have to pay Columbus water and sewer, and we're an in-contract municipality to Columbus. So we're still responsible for, obviously, our pipes. That's Columbus's standard tap fees for an 8-inch, thing. And whatever the tap fee would be over 2 inches, we would be, we're asking for a leeway for the mayor to make it a minimum 50%, but up to 75% of the fee, and that can leave some negotiation room.
So there was no comparable from any of the other cities you looked at.
It is very wide scale. In fact, I would say it is very expensive to do tap sizes beyond 2 inches. Most municipalities, have you contact their engineering department. If you go to,
I see.
for example, if you go to Delaware County, which does its own sewer, Delco Water runs their water. Anything over 2 inches, you have to contact them to engineer it up.
Okay.
And if you look at their base charges, it's far more expensive than ours is there. So we're in line with basically we're making it in line with what Columbus's fees are. It'll be a little more expensive because they're going to pay us our piece of the pot too, but we need that, quite frankly. And I already forewarned them, at the first staff meeting months ago when we talked about it. So, and if they can get Columbus to waive some of their fees, great, but that's not, we don't control that end of it. We just control our fees.
Just so you're aware, an 8-inch pipe is $162,000.
Yeah.
Just to give you,
Correct.
and that is what the city of
For the sewer.
Columbus charges. We
Yep.
don't have control over that. Just as, to put it into perspective of what we're talking about.
One-time tap fees are generally very expensive when you start scaling them up like that.
And that's just an 8-inch. Don't ask what a 16-inch is.
Delaware did get sued over theirs, by the way, but
Makes sense. I mean, those are big numbers, so people are going to be more likely to want to negotiate or push back for sure. I mean, who wouldn't?
Yeah, and again, we don't control Columbus's prices, so that's
Right.
going to be
Right.
something in itself that has nothing to do with us.
Right.
And that's just it. This gives us a leeway to be able to negotiate a little bit, maybe even do a little bit more research. But we do have to maintain it. Therefore, we have to make sure that we cover ourselves.
Right.
All right. Anybody else have any? Eric, did you have anything else?
Just the other item, and it's not on the agenda, but it'll be next time, and obviously legislation I'll have a look at. It'll be the sidewalk program. Just going to make sure it's all tidied up, redlined, and put in front of legislation prior to third reading at council next meeting.
Perfect.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else? All right. I'm going to read MPCA's update, and I'll try to make this quick as well, but it's long. MPCA held their required annual general meeting September 20th, during which officer elections were held. The offices this year were for president and secretary. Monica Goudry will be the new president, and Lisa Brugger is going to be the new secretary. They are 2-year terms beginning January 1st, 2021. Monica had held the co-VP for the past year, and Lisa had been involved in many MPCA activities and events, mostly serving as the Children's Committee chair. MPCA is striving to increase the memberships this year. The electronic membership sign up was emphasized in August. Hopefully by the end of the week, you will start to see street reps at your door to follow up with those who did not sign up electronically. Their goal is to eventually be all electronic. Upcoming events in September are the Mother-Child Resale, September 19th. This is a new event. It is going to be held at the church next door to my house, so come enjoy. The community-wide garage sale is going to be September 26th. I do know that they hand-delivered, I'm going to call it an application or a sign-up to everybody's mailbox for anybody that was interested for either one of those. And Sarah is going to be taking over from Sandra Williams. However, they do still need a co-chair to help Sarah next year with these events if anybody is interested. The community block party has been canceled, and the children's Halloween party is to be determined. Congratulations to Kenneth Kozlowski. Hope I didn't say that wrong. Of 3012 Green Line Way, the winner of the Minerva Flora 4 Seasons Garden Award. This year's season was summer. Judges were out in July and chose the garden because of the excellent curb appeal, color, great design, and a variety of plants. Kenneth will get a certificate of recognition and is added to the plaque of winners that hangs in the community building. The newsletter went out. It was a joined effort, and in my opinion was great, and it was also half the price. So if anybody has any issues, problems, or concerns, they're more than welcome to email me. We do have all, and this is for council more than the general public, I do have all intents of having this in everybody's mailbox by the 1st of October, so we can make sure that we have ample time for, I'm going to move this into my MPCA directly into the mayor's report. I have all intent of getting the newsletter out in everybody's mailbox by October 1st or 2nd. The reason for that is obviously we have the October 6th National Night Out that we want to make sure we get some advertisement out there for, as well as the village Facebook pages, the police department Facebook pages as well. I believe we did have a sign last year that hung over by the wood fences. So hopefully we have that. I'm not sure if we still do, but that would be awesome if we did, to get that hung up as well. And I also wanted to make sure that we got out the information for the levy that was brought up on Saturday. We want to make sure that we get as much advertisement, and I don't want to call it advertisement, as much factual information out to everybody about the levy, and just the simple fact that there is going to be a renewal on the ballot. We do, in fact, you guys asked me to find this information out. We do, in fact, have $600 in the budget if anybody decides that they want to send out a flyer. If we want to save money, send out a flyer and go door to door and drop it off. If we want to do postcards, whatever you guys decide, maybe that's something that the finance committee can decide on, or the communication committee can decide on, and let me know. At this point in time, I'm leaving it in your guys' hands until you tell me otherwise, but that is an option and it's there. We continue to work through the lakes, determining a couple different things, having conversations about it. We did have quite a few different conversations on Saturday, possibly getting someone out here. And that was one of the questions that I have for you guys. Maybe this is an email that I'll send out later. What the final scenario was, if we want to hire somebody for just one day to come out and clean up trees. If we decide to do that, I believe there's probably money in the budget somewhere to do that. If we decide we want to have the potential of multiple days, I would not want to do something, I'm going to call it illegal, by, avoiding legislation and all of that kind of stuff, over my budget by doing, one day and then turning around and doing it again and having all of this additional that needs to go through legislation. So I just want to make sure, do you guys just want to do the one day? Do you guys want to do multiple days? If we do multiple days, I probably need to go through you guys. If you do really just want to do one, I can probably sign off for it. I don't know that we need to do any appropriations, but as you guys will see, you have an appropriation in front of you. We're not planning on passing that as an emergency because I do expect some updates, because we have quite a few things that we're going to be updating, including some purchases for the CARES Act that we want to make sure we have line items in there for. So watch for that next week. I do plan on turning September 21st meeting with your guys' approval into a council meeting. If there's anybody that says absolutely not. And the only reason that that is of interest to me is so we can get some additional readings in without having to pass things as an emergency, as you guys are fully aware. So I would love to do that. If there's anybody that does not want to do that, if you could let me know by the end of the meeting or first thing via email, and I will have Becky change that to, again, just a meeting strictly. I mean, it's a regular meeting. We can talk about anything and everything. I don't want to tell people they can't, but for my purpose, it is solely to just do our basic roll call, go through legislation. So that's my mayor's report. And anybody have any questions for me?
Yes, you were talking about, I understand, wanting to do legislation if we do a bunch of these things, because that's going to be getting into money. Could we still just do the first one as a standalone and then see how much, as we were talking on Saturday, see how good of a job, see if it's worth the money before, like, do one standalone, and if we like it, say, okay, now we're going to bundle and do 5 more, or that wasn't worth it.
Is that okay? I guess that's my question for Jean. I just want to make sure that I'm not doing something that we shouldn't be doing, since I'm signing off on something that's technically possibly $6,000, $8,000, $10,000 by doing it once and then turning around and doing it again. I don't know if Jean's on there. Does anybody have it?
No. If I understand correctly, you can authorize the purchase $6,000, $8,000. If you turn around and do something different, it authorizes you, but it doesn't direct you or require you to do it. So if you change course, you can come back and ask for a different authorization.
Well, I think that the point is this could be just a one and done or not. So this is a trial. So I think we could, I don't see it as a deceit or anything like that. We're just saying we're going to try it. It all is so weather dependent. The point is it's weather dependent. So hopefully we can even do one, depending on, where the guy is working. But we need the lake to go down a little bit so they could get to the edges and get the wood out. And so they do it for one day. We see how much they can do. And also this is weather dependent on whether we say, this is great, we got 20% done, we got 50% done. We see now we're going to need 1 more day or 2 more days.
Perfect.
And each day is $2,000.
Right. And I'm
There was a crew of 10 men here today.
So So anyway, the point is I would think that would be okay, because that's just
Tree
the
cutting.
mayor doing the administrative job of saying, okay, we still have some more cleanup to do.
Yeah,
Let's-
it's like our supplemental appropriations. We can always come back and ask for more.
I
Yeah,
think
You
there's plenty
you
of
can
money.
do the first
You-
month as an emergency and then do more in normal course, if you need to.
But
There was
she
a
has-
crew
but
of
she
10
has
men here
enough-
today cutting wood, and it's unbelievable what they did in 2 hours.
So she has enough in the budget in the tree fund to do the first one. So she really doesn't have to ask us for that if it's under
It's
$2,000.
$3,000, so she,
Right.
I think that's the.
I just wanted to make sure it was fine because I don't want to spend the $2,000 and then come right back and ask for 8 and somebody have an issue with that. So that's why I just wanted to clarify that. So yes, I don't have a problem doing it. Is there anybody that does not want me to do it? You've got about 2 seconds. Okay. I will get with them tomorrow. Actually, I'll send them an email tonight as soon as I'm done, and I will find out. Obviously, it's got to lower. We know that. So time, we'll see what we think and when we think and all that good stuff. So that's that. All right, let's go on. Does anybody else have questions for me? You can hit it in old business or new business when we get there then. All right, let's go to community. David McNamara.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Members of the council and community, if there's anybody watching. So the main thing remains the lakes. And as discussed by Mayor Hughes, there are numerous different options being pursued right now about the cleanup in preparation for possible dredging, which was just discussed. Also with regards to the reallocation of the material, should this come to fruition, there has been a report that just came back to the council today on the composition of the sediment sample that was taken. So I would assume that that will be instrumental in determining what type of facility or dump or what have you would be acceptable to pursue placement should this happen. I didn't see any actual like volatiles. I didn't see in the list. Mainly a lot of where did it go? I had it open.
It's just
I don't know if
David,
anybody else.
it's not this is just the first one.
Correct.
So this isn't one that does the heavy metals. There's a separate report for that.
Well, that would make sense then, because everything I saw looked either organic or easily mitigated. So, yeah, I knew that we were waiting on more than one. I didn't know that they were going to be separate by composition. So I do apologize for any confusion there. But the gist of the message is the same. We're making progress on the composition, and for the we're making progress on getting the area cleaned out for dredging, should that be the route, and we are getting a more comprehensive view of what is present, so we'll know what avenues we have to relocate the material should it be removed. So I will update everybody, or everybody gets those emails, correct, for the composition, or was that just to community?
No, I sent everything to everybody.
Excellent. Well, in that case, you'll know something when I know something, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't look to see who's on what committee. I figure it's great information for everybody because anybody may want to do their own analysis of it. So, yeah, no, I send it to everybody, and as soon as I get those other ones, you guys will be the first to know.
Wonderful. Everybody else will know something when we know something then.
All right.
Well, I mentioned this before. I don't know if anyone really heard it. There was a crew of 10 people cutting wood here today, and they accomplished a lot. They were only here 2 hours. They had no access. They didn't bring any trucks down. They had a front loader that they brought through my yard, went over the fence, and hand carried and wheelbarrowed stuff. And they made it, in 2 hours made a big difference. So
That's fantastic. I'm very happy that we're making progress, Joe. That's a wonderful thing to hear.
Was that you or Paul Miller?
Well, they came through my yard. I gave them permission to tear it up with the tractor, and Paul was the one who brought him in to trim trees that were behind his place, and it made a big difference. But the amount of work they were able to do really surprised me, and I do that kind of thing myself.
Well, that's wonderful. That's
they had
wonderful.
a big crew, you know, a lot of bodies.
All right.
Yeah, that's about all I have. I knew we were waiting on a couple reports. I just didn't know they were by composition. So I was absolutely baffled that it was all, organics rather than heavy metals or other volatiles. So I think my pleasant surprise will may not be long lived.
Yeah, hopefully, you never know.
That's right. We never know. It may come back completely clean.
Perfect. All right, let's move on to finance. Diane.
Okay. Well, as you heard from Leah, we've got the latest financial report. We are going to be scheduling a meeting in October to review the latest financials, also talk, more importantly, and talk about budget. So looking forward to that meeting. Because that'll be an important one. So I think that's all I have, though.
Perfect. All right. Anybody have any questions for Diane? All right. As soon as we get that scheduled, we'll get it posted. That way everybody knows when it's coming. Tony, streets. I take away your thunder with.
I was already say we went over Mike's report there. I don't know what else I have to add to that.
Now you know what it's like. He used to always steal everything I wanted to say. So now I get to steal it for you.
All I had to report is what the mayor reported.
Oh, do you know if when I walk over, I walk on the path in the MI section. I tend not to walk on the streets, but were the speed signs put up, speed limit signs?
Last I heard, they were still working. I don't believe there's any.
Talking about in the new development?
Yeah. I don't believe there's any issue, but I don't know that they've been put up.
No, they've not been put up yet. It's all part of the process. We'll get them in there.
Yes.
Okay.
It's on
and Eric, before, just because they brought that up, I just want to let you know that downed tree is still a downed tree. No one's moved it. That was over top of the path that night when we were at planning and zoning. It'll be 2 weeks on Wednesday.
Understood. I was out of town. I'll follow up with someone tomorrow.
I didn't realize it wasn't removed until today. So there you go.
Yeah,
it's not on the path. For the record, it's not on the path. We did.
Oh, it's not on the path. It was moved down. Okay.
Yeah, we moved it that night. Brian moved it immediately. So,
that's
and I guess
we haven't done it.
Yeah, and I guess it is full of poison ivy, for the record.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's go to communications. Joe.
We need to schedule a meeting, but as far as the website goes, that's still that's pretty stable now, though there's a number of things that, can be tweaked or improved. I don't know if that's what the committee really wants to do in the meeting, or if that's something Becky's working on. Also, the subject came up about IT versus communications, and I sent a notice out. I haven't heard back from anybody if somebody's interested in really focusing on the IT part of it.
I think it's a great topic to start with in communications. So, and same thing, I don't know, again, since we just talked about finance and communications, I don't know if this is something you guys want to talk about after this or via email, but if anybody wants to take the lead again on the postcard that you guys have discussed, that would, if we're not going to have a finance meeting until Kim, I don't know if you want to do, I guess, Diane, I don't know if you have any interest in doing a finance meeting before then, just to discuss the, what am I trying to say?
Postcard.
The maintenance department and the possibility.
Yes, I'm not going to wait for the meeting to start asking questions and getting information. I'm not going to. So I'll be just doing that with email so that I can have things to present for the finance meeting Kim, I'll work with Kim and Leah.
Carbon copy them both because yeah, Leah does do a bunch of stuff during the day. And then usually we follow up with Kim either, throughout the day, weekends, nights, as soon as we get home, all that good stuff.
Okay, all
The
right.
communication is pretty, it works well. So we're not having issues with any of that. So yeah, just carbon copy both of them because a lot of stuff Leah can't get. So let's move on. Okay, so no, let's go back to Joe because I know I just kind of stopped him right in the middle. So if you want to schedule a community meeting or a communications meeting, if you guys want to talk about IT versus that in the meeting, if you guys want to talk about the website, you guys are more than welcome to give us information that you want adjusted and we'll discuss it.
All right, it's just typos and, little things like that is all I see because I don't know what the master plan is or we're pretty much where we're going to go other than tweaking, right? With the website.
Joe, did you have a date you wanted to schedule a meeting on? I don't know that talking about what we want to talk about is a great use of time right now. But if you had a date that you wanted to schedule a meeting, the committee could decide whether that's a date, and then we could have those discussions in a committee meeting.
Awesome.
Well, yeah, I can pick a date, but there's two other people.
Right. All three of us are here on this call right now. So now would be a great time to pick a date.
I understand. Well, Thursday nights about 7, fine with me. Some people prefer 6.
Thursday, I am available at either 7 or 6. Diane, you're the other communications committee person.
Are we talking about the 17th then?
Correct.
Yes, at 7 p.m.
Is that's what we're saying?
I know you like it earlier, Diane. I can. I'm flexible. I'm not wishy-washy. I'm just Brian has hours of work and you have different hours, and so I can be there when it's convenient for others if that helps.
7 o'clock is what I'm used to. So if you want something earlier, I can adapt, but 7 is what I'm used to.
I think I'm the only one that hates 7 o'clock because I don't get home until 9. But your guys'
No,
meeting.
7's fine with me. Just because that's the time we usually do things.
Done.
Then let's call it.
7 o'clock. Yeah, Thursday 17th, 7 o'clock.
Got it.
I'll do the Zoom if you like, Tiffany.
That'd be great in case I gotta go off and on. Because we usually don't live stream those anyways. All right, Joe, did you have anything else for communications?
Well, that's pretty much it, but we're still assimilating all the new stuff. And it seems great. The newsletter, the website, everything seems to be going pretty good.
Good. Glad to hear it. Okay. Brian, safety.
Yep, safety. We've already heard everything we need to hear about what's going on with our negotiations with Columbus Fire. I was hoping to schedule, I did not have a safety committee meeting scheduled last month. My late August got busier than I was anticipating, so I would like to schedule one if it works for Chief Delp and Chief Hochstetter. I don't know that you'll be needed because anything going on with EMS right now is tied up with the Columbus negotiations. But if it works for Chief Delp, I'd like to schedule for Thursday late afternoon. So I think last time we did it at 5. Does that still work for you, Chief Delp?
We talking about this?
Yeah, this Thursday, the 17th.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
All right, then let's call that. I guess, yeah, Mark's giving a thumbs up. And who's the other person on safety? And that's a thumbs up from Tony. So everybody's on board. We will finish up the conversation we had on the speed data that you were collecting, Chief Delp. And then there was also some parking safety issues that came up that we were looking to discuss in that meeting as well. And so that's what'll be going on.
In particular, perhaps, excuse me, restricting parking near corners.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. All right, so that's safety.
All right, let's go on to legislation. Mark.
Okay, we have not had a legislative meeting since last we met, so nothing to report there. We have another one currently scheduled for the 28th at 6:30, because I haven't sent Becky an email to get her to change it to 6.
I'm going to go ahead and do that for you, Mark, because I'm writing her a note right now to do the 2 for September 17th. So I got you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. That's what I was hoping you were going to say. The only other legislative or big thing to talk about before we go into reading stuff, and it's not something for me to announce, but to question, I saw that we got resolution 2020-32, the Garmin Miller sent out separate from the packet. Are we looking to try to get a first reading on that tonight, or is this just a preview?
I'd like to get a first reading on it if that's okay.
Okay, first reading on that. I will slide it in after the 31 then.
Thank you.
Yay.
Yes. It looked all official except for the font and everything was different, so that made it look kind of suspicious.
Yeah, there you go. Well, okay, and I don't know that's legislature, but I would agree for next week on, instead of just having a work session, to have another council meeting so we could move the legislation along. I just wanted to, I didn't know when to mention that, but I'm all for that, moving stuff
Seems
along.
like that was a great time to mention it. It seems like a good idea.
Yeah, I think we have a lot getting ready to, a lot this week that we're waiting for. So, all right. Oh, wait, this is more me. Sorry.
All right, in that case, without any objection, I'll move on to legislation, reading legislation here. And our first one is Resolution 2020-26. This is going to be a third reading, so I'm going to move for passage in a moment here. This is to enter in a leaf contract with McKinney, Landscaping for leaf pickup. The cost of the leaf pickup program is $28,000. Just because I like giving context, that is a little bit more than we have previously paid. Not a whole lot more, because I think last year was 20 or 22 maybe.
22.
22, so 6,000 more, but some of that is because things get more expensive, and some of that is because we now have a lot more people over there with houses raking up leaves in the new section. So I'm going to move that we pass this here resolution.
I second it.
I'm going to give Dave lightning on that one.
All right, Councilman Benedetti.
Aye.
Councilman Curl.
Aye.
Council President Trim.
Aye.
Councilman Wolf.
Aye.
Councilman Berger.
Aye.
Councilman McNamara.
Aye.
Awesome. Got it.
I have some very happy neighbors now.
There you go.
Leaf pickup is, and getting that done is important. Have too much stuff to put in bags and put out front. All right, moving on to Resolution 2020-28. This is a second reading for the purchase of a new HVAC system. Currently still listed as Atlas Butler as the seller. I believe the price has been adjusted since last time we read it, Mayor Hughes.
Yeah, so here's, I'll give just a public record part to this. If we decide to go with a different company, I'm totally fine with that, and we will start with the first reading. Hopefully we can all get all of our answers answered this week, and we would start with that first reading. Again, great reason for the September 21st date. So at this point in time, I upped it to that amount of money because I thought that we were going to need to up it for the thermostats and this and that, and I actually didn't get my phone call from him until about 5:30, which he then let me know that he just forgot to put that in there. It was already included. So that additional was only for the outside air and everything from the first time we read it. He adjusted it a little bit and had all of that in there. So I believe we're only at actually 15.7, something right around there, just so you guys are aware, but I'll pull it up, re-verify it, and I'll fix that number to be more accurate. That said, if we decide to go a different direction, that's more than able to do as well. You guys also have in front of you, if you want to upgrade from 80% to 95%, you guys have that new total in front of you as well. So I would love if we end up keeping this Atlas Butler, which is also, you'll see in the headline of that legislation that I changed. It is, they're actually merging with somebody, and it's Atlas Butler / because they're in the middle of doing it right now. So you're going to see both of those names on there. So again, that's going to be left up to you guys. That's why we're only doing second reading. So if you guys want to, let me know if you guys want to upgrade the service. And basically, you guys got my email, you got my 2 cents. I don't know, really, I'm not in, I'm not a
Maybe we could
professional
do
in
some
HVAC. I'm
emails
not going to
back and forth about because I hadn't considered the, 90% versus 80 or 90, 95. I mean, maybe if we just shoot some emails back and forth and see where we're at on that.
And I just
Yeah.
view it, we have until September 21st.
I
The
have a
difference
quick
in
question.
cost- The difference in cost isn't that great. However, there's a lot of people that have been choosing 80% in lieu of the 95, but this is before the climate we have now where energy supplies are uncertain and the cost of it's uncertain. There's a lot of regulations that may come in that drive the cost way up. So it might be much more efficient
I have
in
a
the near future.
brief question.
There's no pollution that comes out of it. It pleases people.
McNamara.
Thank you. Thank you. So my question being, if we're still looking at, if we're still looking at a new or vastly renovated building in the next year or so, have we considered how much of this new HVAC equipment will be salvageable or will be integratable in with the new building? Because if the case is that none of this stuff is going to be able to be, retrofitted or integrated within the next year, then we may want to get the cheaper, easier package that's just going to work and do its job. Whereas if this is going to, remain part of the infrastructure or be able to be transferred into the new building, should that be what happens, then I'd have much more stomach to have, the top of the line air filtration, fresh air circulation, all that good stuff, knowing that it'll last more than a year. Just my 2 cents, I suppose. We need to be good stewards.
I put a huge amount of time into looking at this, David, in terms of if it's a 20-year system. And, about everything is old hat, with the exception of they're taking standards that used to be applied in certain ways and applying them to smaller buildings, residences and stuff. It's in flux right now. So the biggest thing about the HVAC is the COVID protection. So I posted today, if you didn't get a chance to read it, who's probably the premier authority in the world on the subject, what they're saying in terms of, and I always figure the goal is to be able to reopen the public building, for public use.
I saw
that's
a
what
couple
this is
links.
pointing at. And just like when we did our architectural interviews, when the architects alluded right to the engineers in the beginning on this question, they've done the same thing. They started out to how do you reopen your building, and then it comes 20 pages about the HVAC.
Okay, so I saw a couple of those links and I read through them. They seem to be from a trade association or a interest group in the trade,
No.
which doesn't seem to be an issue if they have, good information. But my question was more specifically, or more, I guess, more conceptually based around the idea of, will they, have we considered whether these HVAC systems will be more long-term or more short-term with a new building or heavy renovations coming? I guess that's all I had.
Or if we don't
David
do
does
some
not think
minor
we can do that.
changes when we install it right now, it'll be short-term. We'll have to make some changes most likely, but here's the good news. We're replacing the whole system. If we weren't, and then we were looking at these changes they're talking about, we'd have to be tearing things out and changing a lot of things around. When you're replacing the whole system anyway, to put a slightly larger motor here or another duct there is not a big thing.
So
But
David,
the guidelines are clear, what I published there.
Yeah, David, this would be a better question for your future architects. Could they potentially reuse it? It depends on, you're obviously keeping, part of the plan, at least conceptually, is to keep the building, at least the existing portion. So there's
Yeah.
likely, I think, a good chance that you can probably find a way to continue to use that new system. The way the building's going to be shaped, it's my, non-architect opinion, but I believe that you're going to be having a couple different zones in that structure anyway. So I think you
Yeah.
need to find a way
Yeah.
to.
Thank you.
We just-
That was what I was asking. That is what I
The
was
main
talking about.
changes in the standards are really simple. They're moving more air. Where there used to be 10 air changes, they're probably going to want 12 now. Those guidelines talked about when you have a large crowd in a building, when they before they come in, exchanging the air, what they call a purge. That requires a little bit bigger fan. And
None of this is
you can read
accomplished, though,
those.
with the heating, and it's not accomplished with the heating and ventilation system. These are air handling systems that you're describing, and that's not what we're installing.
Diane had her hand up a moment ago.
Well, that's not, Tony, that's not even within 100 miles of the truth. What am I supposed to say to that?
Diane, we'll hear from you, and then we're going to move on to our next piece of legislation.
Thank you, Mark.
I wanted to say that, there's not a perfect solution here. We're trying to be proactive before the thing breaks and it becomes an emergency where we don't have a lot of choices, because now it's winter and people are cold. So there's pros and cons, and David is correct, but right. Looking at the building now, they decided on to continue with 2 zones. They didn't have to. Both of the vendors wanted to have 2 zones. So we have 2, a smaller piece and a larger piece of equipment. So in the designs that we did, where we kept the community building and added on to the west, the architects wanted to, again, put in its own zone. So the indications I've gotten, as far as I can tell, is that they would put in a separate zone for a large, if indeed we agreed on that, it would be its own zone. So but it's not guaranteed. So there's a risk that maybe we'd have to get on, eBay and try to sell one of these things. But, I think it's.
I don't believe that.
We're at the point where we need to take care of our building as it exists today, and take care of something, once again, that should have been done 3, 4, 5 years ago. And so because of that, we really can't afford to hope that the thing will make it through another year or 2. So there's a risk.
No,
but
I agree with
I think we have to
replacement.
take it. I'm sorry, Joe wasn't finished. I'm sorry, I'm rambling. But I think we have to take that risk. And so in terms of what efficiency it is a waste. No one in their right mind would put a 90% in with the single pane windows and the other drafty stuff we have. No one would do that unless at some point, though, if you do upgrade and put in more insulation and better windows and a new roof, eventually when you do all that, then a higher efficiency would make sense. So
the efficiency, Diane, of the furnace has nothing to do with the windows or the roof. The roof and the windows, so I haven't seen an accurate heat gain calculation, which takes the windows and roof into effect. That tells you how much heat you have to put into a place. With the efficiency of the furnace is how much fuel that it burns when it produces a given amount of heat. And if the windows are leaking and the roof is leaking, then it just produces more heat. The more heat it has to produce, the more savings you get from an efficient furnace, is the way that works.
All right, so going back to it, just so we move on to the next legislation.
But Eric could explain that.
The changes here the price was increased a little bit because we wanted to include some more fresh air from the outside. And just to put it in context for anyone listening, the 16.5 goes up to a little over 19,000 if we go for the 90% efficiency one.
95%. If I didn't put, and I might not have. So.
And the other thing is FYI is the same questions were sent to the other vendor, and we're waiting for the reply, and we'll either get them before Monday or it'll be a moot point and defaulted to this vendor. But
Alright.
wanted to give the other
We-
vendor a chance to also.
The only thing we really need to do is make sure the fan doesn't get undersized on the new unit because the
Why
fresh
would
is
it,
taken
why
care
would
of.
it be why would a qualified vendor deliberately undersize a fan?
All right, so we
Well,
have,
that's a question nobody can answer because nobody do it deliberately. What happens, Diane, is there's standards for fans that have been going on for a long time. And now that because of COVID, nothing to do with energy, but COVID itself, they're requiring more air. Their emergency rooms and critical care areas and clinics and hospitals right now for COVID reason are running 20 air changes an hour. So it's
Well,
just a question. When you buy a furnace, they come with a fan. And you can decide which fan you want. Now, I think
Joe,
in
and
that
that fan
bid
has
there, they
nothing
talk about a
to do with
two-stage
changing
fan.
air. That's what you don't understand, Joe.
okay, well, we're moving on.
Tony, if you think I don't understand air conditioning, then, go jump in the lake here.
All
You
right,
got your hip waders.
I'll do that behind your house a little bit.
2030, which we
That's
need,
ridiculous that you
Okay.
say things like that.
I'm going to start muting people here in about 30 seconds because we have people on here that have been here all day since the bright and
Well,
early this morning. So-
Everybody knows, even in your house, if on your thermostat, it has a switch. It says heat, it says cool, and it says fan. Now, what part of that don't you get, Tony?
all right.
What do you
guys
mean
can-
you need another fan?
At a different
You just
time.
need one that blows a little more air, so you put a bigger one in the furnace. It's a
Okay, I'm muting everybody because Mark has got to get through legislation or we're never going to get home. And this is not for anybody in particular, it's for everybody.
So here we go, Resolution 2020-30. This is what we were discussing earlier with the changes to the fee schedule. In particular, this is adjusting the commercial fee schedule for new, boy, I don't even almost want to say it because I'll get it wrong, but property zoning, not property permitting. It's the whole discussion we had earlier, and I'm not looking to revisit that. It gives some leeway for negotiation on the sewer tap fees. The reason we are, of course, passing this, and I will be in a moment moving to waive readings, is we need to get it passed so we can apply it to the Westerville School project. The reason we didn't have it before is there's just not a lot of non-residential property built in the village. So I am going to move that we waive the third reading. I believe it's only the third reading we need to waive. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, everybody can turn their things off right now. I've muted everybody, so everybody get their things back on for a second. And then if we feel like we have to do it again, I'll do it again here in a second. So Brian, I have you as seconding. And let's go to Councilman Berger,
Aye.
Councilman Wolf,
Aye.
Council President Shrimp,
Okay.
Councilman Curl,
Aye.
Councilman Benedetti,
Aye.
and Councilman McNamara.
Aye.
All right.
Okay, so we have waived the third reading. Once again, this is what we talked about earlier when we were talking about the fee schedule. This does not address any other of our fee schedule, any of our other permitting things, just commercial buildings, mostly the square footage for putting a new commercial building in, and the water tap, the one-time water and sewer tap fees. And I am going to move to pass this as an emergency.
Second.
All right, any discussion before we call that roll?
Buddy? All right, so Councilman Wolf,
Aye.
Council President Shrimp,
Aye.
Councilman Berger,
Aye.
Councilman Curl,
Aye.
Councilman Benedetti,
Aye.
and Councilman McNamara.
Aye.
All right, and we are good to go on the fee schedule.
All right, moving on to Resolution 2020-31, an East Shore Court survey contract. I am a little confused on this one, to be honest. I'm going to have to ask for your guidance here. It says declaring an emergency, but it also has all of the three readings
Correct.
listed.
That's the one that we talked about on Saturday, and honestly could not remember if we made a decision or not. This is the one, the East Shore Court project, that even Brian had said, this is not a surprise that we're working on this particular project, and he potentially might have been okay doing it. So we didn't take out the additional readings in case people really want to do all 3 readings. It is the document that we're waiting for Mike Flickinger to get us the final scope of work to have our meeting in mid-October to the end of October. So if we could waive the readings to get this survey contract moving, we could get moving for the people on East Shore Court a little bit faster. So I'm asking for you guys to, myself and Mike are, because we've been, working on this for 3 years, but it's your guys' choice. So I would love for you to, but I'm fine with the 3 readings if that's what we need to do. Survey work can probably be done in October or November. We would just really like it to be done now. There you go.
All right, I will say, anyone want to discuss it here, or should I move it first and then, well?
Yeah, I think you should move to waive the 3 readings and ask for discussion.
I guess I'll do it that way. I'm going to move to waive the 3 readings.
And I will second that.
Moved and seconded. Who's got an opinion? Nobody? Oh my goodness, that's surprising.
The thing is, it needs to be, even after we approve this, they still have to get someone scheduled to go out and do it. So time's passing for good weather and getting that done.
It was cold today.
Yeah, surprising. Yeah.
I'm freezing right now, so I get it.
Colder.
All right, so Diane seconded it, so let's go through the list.
Quick, Diane certainly approved or gave her a reason why she wants to do it. Is there anyone out there who has another opinion on it or would like to put their 2 cents in real quick, since this is kind of a quickie and we haven't had a chance to really chat on it?
I thought Brian was getting ready to say something and then he got cut off.
Also what I thought. All right, I think we can call the roll then.
All right. Councilman Berger.
Aye.
Councilman Curl.
I think that was an aye. He's muted. My lip reading.
I didn't mute him.
He didn't
Maybe he
unmute.
muted himself. Hang on.
Around, he might have muted himself, so it's not too.
Yeah, he did it because I didn't. I'm trying to unmute him and it.
Pretty sure.
Okay, can you hear me now?
There we
Aye.
go.
Perfect. Councilman Wolf.
Aye.
Council President Trump.
Aye.
Councilman Benedetti.
Aye.
And Councilman McNamara.
Aye.
Got it. All right.
So the the readings have been waived. Real quick, because I didn't go over a big sort of description of this. A resolution authorizing and approving the execution of a contract with the Resource International, Inc. for a topographical survey for the 2021 East Shore Court project and declaring an emergency. That part we already knew. The cost of the project shall not exceed $3,800. And this is, as it says, the topographical survey. So we can start looking at some remediation or what have you on that East Shore Court, which has the various water problems. And I will move to pass as an emergency.
Can we put a footnote in there that when they do the survey, they put pins in this time?
Second.
Okay.
right.
Let's go with Councilman Wolf.
Aye.
Councilman Curl.
Aye.
Councilman Berger.
Aye.
Councilman Benedetti.
Aye.
Council President Trump.
Aye.
Councilman McNamara.
Aye.
All right, and we are good to go.
All right, that is passed. I'm going to go a little bit off agenda here because I'm going to put the 2020-32 in here as that would be its logical place to go. This is resolution 2020-32, a resolution authorizing the negotiation of a contract with Garmin Miller and Associates, architects and engineers to pursue a plan to design and manage the completion of improvements to the municipal building known as the community building. This is, of course, just to enter into negotiations, so there is no price associated with it. Council has met via video conferencing with 2 of the 4 companies that put a bid in. We compared their various qualities, discussed which ones we preferred, and came down with Garmin, Miller, and Associates. Although the second place finisher was also was close there. We don't need to do this as an emergency or anything, right?
Right.
Nope. Good. So that has been read. All right, back to my other page, that is for ordinance number 11, 2020. Third reading to amend the development text. In order to approving an amend plan residential district PDR zoning text from MI Homes of Central Ohio LLC. Is this the fence, or is this just adopting all their stuff?
This is the fence. It's been adopted multiple occasions already.
Gotcha. This is third reading of the fence. We have had several requests for variances on this. We have approved certainly all of them, and getting tired of doing that, we are just going to amend the zone so people can build their fence. Third reading, so I will move to pass it.
Second.
All right.
Any question on it?
Anybody? Councilman Wolf.
Aye.
Councilman Bruger.
Aye.
Councilman Curl.
Aye.
Councilman Benedetti.
Aye.
Councilman McNamara.
Aye.
And Council President Sharp.
Aye.
And that has been passed.
All right, on to the last one of the night, ordinance 13, 2020, supplemental appropriations for the current expense of the year, the Village of Minerva Park for the year of 2020. This is a first reading. Mayor Hughes, you want to tell us what the big change is here?
No, because I don't have it in front of me, but I will. Give me a second.
Okay.
There's a lot. We mentioned this a little bit on Saturday. There are still quite a few accounts that are affected from the beginning of the year issues that we had that we won't go crazy into detail about. Things were written out of the wrong accounts, and it is a big no-no for the finance to reverse accounts and credit accounts and rewrite checks and do all of that. So instead, what we're doing is we're increasing different funds. I do expect this ordinance to change over the next short amount of time by next reading because there are a couple things that we're working on, including like the HVAC system. We might as well put that in here under the CARES Act. There's a couple things that we're going to need to do. So we're going to get those things added in the event that we do move forward on all of that kind of stuff. So we're working on that. So we'll verify that all the numbers are correct. There is an increase for the police department for overtime. There is, and that was due to going to the protest downtown. There is, most of the other things I do believe are for the most part just issues that we had that things were written out of. I'm trying to find, I thought there was one for, and I'll verify this, and maybe that's the land and buildings. No, it's not. I was thinking that there was going to be one for the maintenance department as well, because I know that there was some stuff written out of the maintenance department that should not have been, and now our maintenance department is empty as well.
That is lands and buildings. You're right.
Lands and buildings, yeah.
It is, okay, so I was right.
Yeah.
So there was a couple different things like that that was, that we're working on. So there's nothing crazy on here, but there were some errors. That
Just clearing some of the accounts that perhaps got a little messed up.
Right. And again, I do believe you're going to see some additions to this as well. I want to reiterate that because some of the departments were actually in the hole and then we were putting money in there. So again, I do expect this to change a little bit. So we'll revisit it next week before we do get this done. Because again, we do have some accounts that are absolutely in the hole that should not be in the hole.
There you go. And just for the viewers out there, if there's anyone still here after 2 hours, unlike a normal home, we can't just randomly transfer things from savings to checking. We have to pass legislation to do it, and that's what this one does.
That is a great way to
Well
put it.
put.
Yeah. I teach for a living. So that is that. Oh, that is, yeah, that's tonight's first reading on that. So that has been read.
Perfect.
Thus ends reading legislation.
Okay, well, I lost the agenda for the
Is
873rd.
new business.
There we go, new business.
New business, can we, the finance team, how does that date in October 13th? Is that October 13th is a Tuesday?
That should work.
Did we want to get something earlier than that so we could decide if we want to, because weren't we one of the people that we were thinking about doing the postcard thing and all that needs to be moved on sooner? Like maybe not a full finance where we go over all the budget, but talk about that sort of stuff.
I think if we're going to do the postcard thing, I don't,
There's a communications committee meeting on Thursday.
right,
Okay. I'm not trying to steal anyone's,
yeah.
Everybody's thunder.
yeah.
Well, the other
Yeah.
option is we could, after we do the quick council meeting just to read legislation, if you guys wanted to talk about it as a group, you guys could also
Right. We
do
could,
that
we
on
could,
Monday night.
right, we could try the drafting it in the communications, then we've got we've got 2 council meetings that we can try to get this through.
Great.
From one committee or another or whoever, we can.
Exactly. Okay.
What did Kim say what time, is it 4 o'clock or 4:30? And is that, Mark, is that 4 o'clock doable or did you need 4:30?
What was the date again? I'm sorry.
Tuesday, the 13th,
Tuesday, 4 o'clock should be fine.
okay, and David?
That's
I'm
fine.
home from school since I have school right here.
Okay, great.
Yeah, as long as it's not my work, as long as it's not on my work week, which is towards the end of the week, I'm fine.
Okay,
Yeah, okay, so I'll put it down for 4 p.m. If for some reason it needs to be 4:15 or 4:30, I'll let everybody know because I don't actually have it in there. Leah, do you know? If it needs to be 4:30?
Actually, I just sent her a message just now.
Okay.
Make sure.
Perfect. So we'll move on to anything else that we need to do. And if we hear from her in the next minute or two, we'll do it. But if not, Diane, I'm going to put you on the list and I will have Becky go ahead and get it put on the calendar.
great.
And then do we have any other ones? We have legislation, we have finance, we have communications, and we have safety. What else do we have? Streets is not going to be done until we hear from Mike Flickinger. And then last but not least is community.
Community, I think we should
Are we-
plan a meeting once we have the sediment analysis, which should come in relatively soon, and we can look into more places for dumping. Unless there are other members of council who believe that there are other issues that would necessitate a more rapid meeting.
Did you want to have, were you going to have a fall cleanup or were we just going to try this group for $2,000 to see what they can do?
Yeah,
Or were
that's
we
my
going to ask
question too.
people, were we going to invite people to join in with this or work at the same time as these guys or?
I
I need to
definitely
get-
wouldn't want to be in their way.
Yeah,
we
I mean,
need to
it
get
would
these
be an
trees out of
interesting,
here.
I mean,
it'd
that's
be
a
an
good
interesting
to-
idea.
You
But
guys
there
are all
also-
talking at the same time here.
Yeah. It would be an interesting idea to do so. However, I would be most comfortable in letting them work a day on their own to see what what kind of bang we get for our buck, so to speak. I would love to have a fall cleanup. We could schedule that at the next meeting.
Well, we need to get some of these trees out of here for them to do anything.
Well, that's what the people were
That's what
talking
Yeah,
they're
right.
doing is to get the trees out. That's
Yes,
that's
that's
what I'm
why
having.
we're having these people.
Well, it was beautiful today what they did.
Well, I think we should-
What vendor was that, Joe, that was here?
Miller, and not because it's Paul Miller, it was Miller Tree Service.
Oh, a tree service, okay.
Anyway, just a little bit as we progress makes a huge difference. And this little bit Paul did today made this giant difference.
Well,
They're only here 2 hours.
I'd like to see if we can have another, volunteer lake cleanup, but it really,
Yeah.
that is really dependent on the weather. And I think that once there's enough warning as to when, and if you follow the weather, when it's going to be down, and we could, schedule one once we have a better idea when the water's going to cooperate.
If we continue to get the tail end of these hurricanes, we may be in trouble this fall, because it actually seems like there's going to be it might be a historic year in terms of that.
I hear you.
Yeah. So
Well,
at this point, I do not have a date as of yet. Is the long and short of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll
For
throw
this
together
big
an email.
access question, when Miller was here today, they had a 450 John Deere tractor with a front loader, and they drove it through my yard, and they put the bucket over the top of Paul's fence, and they loaded it that way, and they didn't go through any of these, access gyrations, and it worked fine.
I don't know what any of that means. I will get an email scheduled, or I'll send out an email about things we could discuss for a possible community meeting if we wish to have one before we get the sediment composition analyses back. That's all I've got at this point.
All that means, David, is we don't have to go get somebody to sign a paper to allow us to drive a truck into the lake. And
Okay, well, good.
Yeah,
Only
makes
thing
it much simpler.
I'm glad that they got a lot out of there.
David, sorry, Mark, go ahead.
I'm glad they got a lot out of there today. I will point out that if they had 10 guys for 2 hours, that's 20 labor hours. We're looking to get 4 guys for 8. That's 32 labor hours. So they actually had about 2/3 or so the amount of work that we're going to be looking to get. So that will give us a good idea of what they should be able to do.
Good stuff.
Yeah, these trees they took down were all standing, by the way. So they had guys climbing the trees and ropes and all that. And so that took quite a bit of time. It wasn't all cutting. The down stuff goes quicker, except for this is all in the water.
Yeah. I agree. Okay. So David, we do have the opportunity to get another dumpster. So in the event that you want, you just need to give me a couple days notice. And I would be more than happy to call and set that up. And local waste has been amazing getting those out here. So
Yeah, I absolutely agree. So, let's see if we can get the analysis stuff back pretty quick. And if not, I'll send out an email about getting together to do. Well, we'll need to get together and do another lake cleanup scheduling if the weather cooperates anyway. So.
all right. And then this may not be anything you have any interest in doing, or maybe this is something that, and I don't take it that way. That might be a bad way to say it. One of the other things that your committee does is they do some of the get-togethers as far as 4th of July, Founders Day. We have Veterans Day coming up. I don't know if we have, with COVID, I don't know if this is something that people want to look into potentially something for Veterans Day. We have I'm gonna say monument out front. I don't know if that's something you want to look into. I don't know if you have interest in it, but I'm just pointing it out. So
Yeah, I'll brainstorm some ideas about safe Veterans Day, safe Veterans Day celebrations or memorial in the age of COVID.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Veterans know how to stay safe. Take my word for it.
Good enough.
So that's new business. Does anybody have any old business?
My thing is what Brian has come up with on the planning and zoning approvals. Brian, are you there?
Tony, I am here, but as to the lateness of the night, and I've actually been babysitting my mom who had surgery today, I am now on the road, and so I cannot speak to it at the moment, but I'll send you an email.
In your living room.
No, I was in my mom's bedroom, but now I'm driving. So I don't have it in front of me because I need to get home, kiss my kids goodnight, and
Feel
Get
free
back
to
over
send me an email.
I'll shoot you an email tonight or tomorrow.
Awesome.
We'll stop driving around in grandma's room and get back on the road.
All right. So does anybody else have anything for old business? Nobody? Somebody want to move to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Slow down, John.
Tony, second.
Second.
Anybody opposed? All in favor?
Aye.
Hey.
You didn't let me oppose.
Come on, we're not opposing. All
Sorry, you're outvoted.
right, guys. Good night.
Eject.